Well, hi everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And I hope that you've had a stress-free week. Um, Obviously, it won't be true for all of us, but let's hope that the majority of the viewers have. Hi there, Jeannie. Good to see you. I want to say that I'm looking forward to doing this broadcast today, but before I get into it, I just want to wish all the Canadians a very happy Thanksgiving weekend. You know, we have our Thanksgiving in October, not to mess with the American one. That way we get two Thanksgivings every year. The interesting thing is the Americans very rarely acknowledge the Canadian one, but you can be sure that they all expect us to acknowledge the American one, which I do. But I work at it this way that, I get to have two Thanksgivings every year. So, for all of you who are new to the broadcast, welcome. Dear Mama Sal is not just me, it's a group of people who get together 3 times a week. On Friday lunchtime, we talk about coping with feelings because we all have them. And then on Friday evenings, we talk about coping with life. And what we're really doing there is cooking on a budget, a very small budget, and how many fun meals can we make, and how varied can they be if we want to. It's all about choices, isn't it? And then on Sunday afternoons we talk about coping with stress. Hi there, Jody. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin and does a wonderful job of looking after me during the broadcast, and Jeannie is her backup, and she's always there, so loyal. And thank you so much, Jeannie, for all that you do as well. It is said that in the end we only regret the chances we didn't take. I'd like to say that I believe I've done quite a bit of research into what do people talk about before they die. And, they don't talk about I didn't clean the house well enough. They don't talk about I don't think I pruned the trees properly. you know, they don't talk about, I'm not sure I had the whitest wash in the world, or the tidiest house. They don't talk about things like that. When people are realizing that their life is ending imminently. I'm not talking about 5 years from now. I'm talking about that they're on their deathbed. They talk about family and friends and the things they wish they had done that they never did. So remember to live life to the fullest, regardless of your situation. My favorite monk said that we should smile, breathe, and go slowly. Stop trying to rush everything. Yeah, we do that all the time. We rush, 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 and really we're putting ourselves into disease, otherwise known as disease. Dis-ease is disease. And we're really, if we just live, I like to say, be a human being, not a human doing. Now, this is from the lady who loves to do a lot. So I just want to own that I am a doer. But even I am learning that it's a really good idea to rest my body. And so before we get on to our main topic for today, I wanted to acknowledge some birthdays and special days. But most of all, I want us to just, bear with me a second. Of course, I hit the wrong button. Now I've got to get back to where I was. Bear with me, if you will. There we go. Um, I want to start off by just making sure that we give some thoughts and prayers again for all those people who were impacted by the hurricanes Fiona and Ian. And, that we don't forget about the fact that most of them are busy trying to cope with nothing. And a couple of us here know what that's like when your life suddenly, um, falls apart. Jeannie had it happen to her. She ended up with a fire a couple of years ago. Well, 18 months ago now, Jeannie. How long ago was it? But she ended up with a fire that totally destroyed her home, burnt the whole thing down into the basement. Scary stuff. And I relate to it in a small way because I also had a fire in my house. Luckily, it only took out about a third. So if you think about all those people who've been impacted by Hurricanes Fiona and Ian, so many of them have lost their homes, their businesses, their friends, you name it, all sorts of things. And I don't know about you, but I like to give up prayers each night for all those that are fighting in the Ukraine and in Russia. I want to say that, oh, Jody, could you make a note of that date so that we acknowledge it each year? Thank you. And so Jeannie's just telling me it was May in 2020. And, I don't know about you, but I keep thinking about not only the soldiers that are fighting, but their parents that must be so scared for them. And also, I don't know about you, but I pray for a way out for President Putin, that he can save face, get out, but save face. And the reason for that is I have a horrible feeling that if we don't make the room for that, for him to do that in some way, that we could end up with World War III, and none of us want that. So given the choice between giving President Putin something so that he can get out of this and save face, or World War III, I know which way I'd go. They say that you need to enjoy the little things in life, for one day you may look back and realize they were the big things. So what are the little things in life that you like to enjoy, that you give thanks for every day? I find waking up is a pretty good one. Hello, I woke up. Oh, thank you. That I have people around me that care for me is another one I give thanks for every day. And, all those sort of things. So what I want you to do is to concentrate on being happy. Don't be sad. Be happy. We want to acknowledge that Jeannie is still recovering from her. Actually, you're not so much recovering, right? You got the good news that your kidney stones are such that you're not going to need an operation. So that's awesome. I got news this week, and I'll talk about that in a second. But and just also to make sure everybody knows that if you know a Canadian, wish them happy Thanksgiving today. Even if you haven't, do it tomorrow. They got a day off tomorrow, so they will appreciate it even tomorrow. I want to give thoughts and prayers to everybody who may need it. And if we don't know that you need it, we can't acknowledge that. So please make sure that you let us know. I don't know of any birthdays this week, but I do know. I know that one of our viewers has a birthday in October, and Nada has a birthday in October, but she never did give us the date. So, Nada, if you happen to be listening to this on the replay or some other time, or if you're lurking in the background right now listening, happy birthday to whenever it is in October that your birthday is. I really do want to thank all of you who sent up thoughts and prayers for me over the time that I've been having. For those of you who don't know, I ended up with a mammogram that showed a problem. I had a second mammogram that confirmed the problem. I then had what they call an open wound biopsy. And I keep touching myself like this because this is where it is. They literally cut me open and took out about a thumb's worth of tissue out of my boob here. And I did hear this week that the cells were found to be positive, not negative. In other words, I am somebody who has had cancer removed. Now, I don't know to what extent. What they talk about so if you can imagine that this is the section of tissue that they took out. What they talk about are clean margins. What clean margins? Oh, you can't see that. Can you see that? No, not very good. Okay, let me do it in the same color. Okay, so I'm going to draw a second line on the outside of this. What they're looking for is from the tissue that they got. Is there a space between good tissue and the ones that are negative? All right, these are the ones that are problem. And they call this clean margins, where there is an area outside of the biopsy area that they took that are cancer-free. Does that make sense? So it's like an egg. If this is an egg and you've got the yolk, then that's the bit that's got cancer, and the white of the egg is called clean margins. So I do have clean margins, except they are pretty narrow in a couple of places, which means that I may or may not end up having to go back and have some more removed. While I'm doing this, have you ever accidentally written on something with a permanent marker when you were meant to use a dry erase marker? You know, I love to give you handy hints. Pray for me here. All right, this is a regular Sharpie. We know that's permanent. All right, so I'm going to write on my board. I'll do it at the bottom like this. Now we know that's permanent marker. All right, if ever you do that, get a magic marker, a dry erase marker, and scribble over the top of it like this. Did you know this, Jody? I'd like it down in my favorite hacks. Okay, then when you take off the dry erase, it's clean underneath. Is that awesome or what? So think about that. It means that almost you can write almost on any surface with permanent marker if you know you can take it off again. I love that. It's one of my favorite little tricks. To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people just exist. And so what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was that we know that life constantly gives us mirrors and lessons. Would you agree with that? That, all the time, strange things are happening to us, and you go, why is that happening? And then I always say to people, 5 years from now, it will be so obvious. How many of you remember, that I had all that debacle with the management here in the community where I live, all those problems? As you will hear, there are a couple of reasons for that. And how many times have you gone through a tough time only to find out that it taught you the lessons that you needed for the next thing that was going to hit you? Have any of you ever found that happen? Maybe somebody betrayed you, or somebody didn't return money, and you thought, you felt all those feelings about that, and you go, wonder why that's happening. And then about a month later, something else will happen, and somebody will come and ask you for a lot of money, and you go, now I know why that happened there. It was to remind me to be careful about lending money. You see, I found that life gives me these little warnings all the time. The best way to prepare for the end of your life is to live life to the fullest. Would you all agree that we are all dying right now? All right? As soon as you're born, you're on your way to death. So I really recommend that regardless of your circumstance, that you live the life you want to live. All right? Live the life you want to live. Don't live it for somebody else. Don't try and make other people happy. Just live your life, the one that you would like. How many of you know that I was due to go down and visit Benji and Judy at the beginning of the month, but strangely, my passport went missing. And we couldn't work out why that would happen. I always put it in the same place, but for some reason, it's not where it's meant to be. And then I had to cancel that trip. And luckily, they actually cancelled it before I realized I needed to cancel it because they had illness in the house. You see, it happened from both sides. I couldn't find my passport, and they got sick, and they didn't want me to get sick. So it was really weird how that happened, and I still haven't found my passport. But how many of you can see that it's a really good idea that I didn't find my passport, because now I need this time to deal with my health. So, it's just like, to me, it's all fascinating. And I keep looking at the realities and the lessons and the mirrors that are being shown to me all the time. And it really is quite fascinating. And I love it. I really do. I love seeing, that didn't make any sense to me a couple of months ago, but now, yep, I got it. How about this one? Do you believe, let me ask you guys, do you believe that living life to the fullest makes a difference along the way? Regardless of how difficult your journey is, that if you live life to the fullest, if you decide, I'm not going to have a pity party here, I know what's going on and I'm going to do the best I possibly can. Like Jody is a great example of that. Now, one of the things that struck me was the thing I was sad about was I had already asked the children what they wanted to do with me when I got down there. I'm inclined to, when I go down there, I spend time with each of the children doing what they want to do with me. Now, nearly always, I must say, that the kids always want to do something creative with me. I'm not quite sure why, but it is the sort of thing, we make a lot of mess. And I always have them teach me something because I always think that's important. So I'd already set up what I was going to spend time with each of one individually and do what they wanted to do with me. And the thing was that they were all craft related. And I had bought the stuff for them to do those crafts because that I would. And I was going to take them down with me. Well, now I'm sitting with presents for the children, and that included, presents for little Leah and for baby Isabella, neither of which I have met yet. But, I bought them a couple of presents as well. So I sort of thought this week I was sad. It makes sense. I felt sad that I couldn't go down there and play with them in that way. And I went, something? If they paid you $1 million to play with the children and have them do the things they wanted to do, which is, they wanted to do things but with you, why can't you do it online? And I went, good point. Why can't I do it online? So I immediately packed up all the presents and and everything else. And then that voice in my head went, oh, the cost of sending them is more than the presents are worth. And I went, shut up. Shut up, voice. I just want to get the presents to the children so that they can enjoy unwrapping them. And then I will set it up with Judy that we have time to play together. Does that make any sense to any of you? That now, instead of being there in person live and touchable, I will be on Zoom or whatever program we decide to do it. Jody is confirming, yes, I agree. It's important to find joy in each day. Jody, if possible, joy in each hour. All right. Jeannie's saying that my idea about doing it a virtual play date with the children, is a great idea. Well, it was just like, my thinking, well, Jeannie, you've been a viewer for a long time. I started going, oh, that's so sad. And I went, wait, don't go there. Now, Benji and Judy both said maybe they'll come bring the whole family up and visit me, which was, because they said they were overdue for that anyway. But, I just went, no, something? It's getting into very busy season for a lot of people, and I don't want to take that chance. Yeah, Benji said to me, hold on, Sal, until you can come down. And I went, no, I don't want to hold on to them. I don't know, right? Who knows what tomorrow will bring? I don't know. I'd rather send them and know that they enjoyed unwrapping them. And that, by the way, gave me great joy. And I've got a video that I've done for you that I did on my way back from doing that, because it was really quite funny. You know me, every time I leave the house, something happens to me. And so I did, of course, record it for you so that you could see what went on. How about this one? Live life to the fullest and focus on the possible. Remember, I was sad because I couldn't do what the children wanted me to do with them. And I went, how do I make that possible? You see, that's why I changed my mood. I went, come on, Sal, you're a bright cookie. How do you make that possible? I'll just send the presents. And then arrange with Judy that, that we do it on Zoom or something. And it won't be 100% the same, but will it be better than nothing? You bet it will. And will it make me laugh? You know it will. And will I be incredibly dumb on a lot of things? Yes. And what I will probably do is to actually get the same things again, but this time I'll hold on to them so we've both got exactly the same things. And my inner voice is going, but that would cost you a lot of money. And I went, yeah, but then I could have them teach me how to do the things that they were doing, which will be much more fun for them. I love doing that with kids, get them to teach me stuff. So I looked at it and I was, for example, thinking that becomes a win-win. That's doing the best I can without a passport. Makes sense. I'm not saying I can't do it. I just can't do it because I haven't got a passport, and that's beyond my control until I find it. And St. Anthony is being very slow about this. For those of you who understand the patron saint of lost things, he normally is much quicker, but for some reason, he is slow on this one. So I have to believe, because I choose to, that there are no coincidences, and I'm not meant to be traveling at this time. How about this one? How about live life to the fullest, because you only get to live it once, right? The same thing as Benji said, hold on to the presents until you can see them. And I went, no, I don't want to take that chance. I don't want to take that chance. All right. I may have to go back under a knife again. And what if this one is a full-blown anesthetic? And that I'm not thinking negatively, but I'm thinking practically, is there a possibility that could happen and I don't survive it? Yes. Therefore, I don't want to take that risk. I want to live right now and enjoy as soon as I can. I was in awe of Jody this week. You all know Jody suffers from 1,001 things that we don't want to know about. But here's the thing. She took herself out twice this week. All right. And the first thing she did, which to my mind was mind-blowing, was she went to go to her local cathedral to listen to the Irish tenor, Emmett Cahill. And the reason that she knew about him, if you're going, who's that? I've never heard of him. Well, neither had I, and neither had Jody, until Lauren in Tasmania, as a Christmas present, sent us both virtual tickets to attend a concert, a Christmas carol thing that he was singing. And I want to tell you, that guy's voice, first of all, he's cute as a button. He's every mother's dream. He's good looking, he's talented, and he's kind, all those sort of things, right? And so I know that when I enjoyed the concert, now it gets a bit challenging because sometimes you have to get up at a strange hour in order to be able to see the concert. But the good news is that it's always a gift of love from Lauren, and that's how Jody knew about him. So when she heard he was coming to sing at her local cathedral, she booked tickets. Good thinking. Now, she had 1,001 reasons why she shouldn't do that. She's been in a lot of pain. She hasn't been sleeping properly. Her fibromyalgia is playing up. You name it. Her lymphoderma is being an issue. She's got pain medications that are not working properly. You know, you name it. She had a list of excuses not to go. I'm sure the voice in her head was going, no, you don't want to go there. It will be stress on you and da. But guess what? Jody wanted to live more than she wanted to have excuses. So she bought the tickets. Now, by the way, I'd like to say that Jody isn't in a financial position to be splurting out money on things like that. So I am certain that she did without certain things in the last couple of weeks so that they could afford the tickets, right? Because somebody had to pay the piper. But the most wonderful thing is that she got excited about going. And of course, Lauren was so jealous. It wasn't even funny. And it was just like, it was just fun. But then a couple of days before, Jody thought she better just check to see where in the new cathedral, you know, when they've renovated it, where the elevators were. They're still in the same place. Well, guess what? The elevators weren't working. And now that's a bit of a problem because part of her ticket was a meet and greet with Emmett as well, to personally meet him. That was the ticket she bought. And now she finds out that because she's needs to be in a wheelchair for those sort of things, that she's not going to be able to see him. Now, I think the old Jody perhaps would have, I don't know, but I could be right, might have just went, oh, that's so sad, but I understand. But the new Jody, no, I bought tickets to see him. So and it's not my fault that they haven't got an elevator and they put it in a room that needs one. And so she phoned them up and said, look, this is my problem. I bought meet and greet tickets and I've just found out that I can't get to that room because I'm in a wheelchair. Not a problem, they said. We'll arrange for him to come and meet you privately. I'm certain Jody went, really? How kind of you. She must have been just so excited. But imagine if she hadn't lived life to the fullest. Imagine if she just said, I bought the tickets, but, it's my fault I can't get in the elevator. No. This was like, I bought the tickets. I want to come up to that room, but I can't get to that room because your elevator's not working. What can we do? And how many of you just, if you're watching on the replay or wherever, how many of you find that just so cute, right? That's only half the story. So they go to the concert and she thoroughly enjoys it all, cried her eyes out when he sang Danny Boy, of course. And then at the end, he went and did the meet and greet with everybody else. And then he came down to meet Jody and Lionel. Now, can you imagine how exciting that must have been? And he is such a cutie. And I'm pretty sure, Jody, I'm reading a quote here that says, one life, one chance, no regrets. I bet you that you said this was my one chance to meet him, and I didn't want to regret it. And, so you went the extra mile. You actually looked after yourself in a way that most people wouldn't have bothered. But here comes the really amazing thing. You're always going to be who you are, right? Now, we know Jody is a very thoughtful, caring person. So what does she know? She's got a one-on-one in private with Emmett, Lauren's favorite human being. Lauren's got a girl crush, a crush on this guy like you cannot believe. So what does she do? She uses some of her private meet and greet time to say, Emmett, I wonder if you could do me a favor. And you can imagine he's already in, a kind, generous mood because he's come down to specially meet her. And she said, wonder if you could do a shout out to a couple of my friends here. And she got him to give a shout out to both Lauren and myself. I mean, that's once in a lifetime. So not only did she have a once in a lifetime experience, I'm pretty certain, that Lauren just absolutely freaked out. I just started to cry. Not because it was Emmett. I started to cry because Jody's once in a lifetime experience, she wanted to share it and give me the same feeling. Doesn't surprise me one bit. Because it's who she is. But she could have not had any of that. She could have just said, "Oh, I'd like a refund on the meet and greet part of the ticket or something." But no, she made a plan. When plan A didn't work, she went for plan B. And by the way, she didn't tell them what to do. She just asked them, "Is there anything you can do?" Because I'm in a wheelchair, I don't know about you, but she refused to be a victim to it. She just made it work. I was so impressed. Not just because I got the special call out, but I was so impressed that she achieved it, because you can imagine how excited she must have been. So think about that. Share those magic moments that you have with people, if you can. And it just made me laugh, quite honestly. It made me cry. I've still got tears in my eyes, but it made me cry, but it also made me laugh because it was so typically Jodie. How many of you remember that I've got a neighbor who has a very serious case of cancer? And she was off to have a major operation about the time I went for my biopsy. And they cut her. Okay, so they cut her. These are her legs. They cut her from her belly button down. Okay, and side to side. So if you can imagine that they did a dirty great thing. Why? They knew there was cancer in there and they wanted as much accessibility as possible. They wanted to get out as much as they could. Now, how many of you just thinking, I've got this one myself. I've got this cut myself for something else that I had. And I want to tell you, I remember how difficult that was. But then to also, this one would have been lower, of course. It would have been sort of like here. But you understand how many staples they had to put in her body to be able to put all that lot back together. How many of you are in pain just thinking about how many muscles they cut through to do that? And how much pain she must be in at the moment. Any of you relate to that in any way? If you've had an operation, I'm sure you can. Just while you're thinking about that, I've got a quote here in front of me, and I thought it was wonderful. It says, "You live longer once you realize that the time spent unhappy is totally wasted." When you realize that it is your choice to be happy, all right? You choose that every day. So now she's 2 weeks post-op, and I know that because I am. And I wonder what you would be doing with your life if you had that many staples that aren't out yet on your abdomen. I don't know about you, but I have a vision. I probably would still be crawling out of bed and making my way to the couch to spend some time there for the rest of the day until I crawl back to bed again. That's my but I seem to remember when I had 17 stitches down my stomach, I seem to remember I wasn't very well behaved either. I did a lot of entertaining. I remember that. Anyway, so I thought it rather interesting because yesterday I sent her a text to check up on her and said, how's your day been? And she said, "Oh, Sal, I'm so tired." And I, you know me, I said, "Yeah, well, of course you are. Honey. You've had a major operation." And she said, "No, I just spent the afternoon in Costco." And I said, "What?" How many of you 2 weeks after a major surgery like that would be in Costco shopping 2 weeks later? Now, I know it makes it easier if you've got a cart on wheels, but how many of you know that must have been so painful to me? I just about cracked up laughing. I didn't know what to do other than laugh because it was just so, in Costco, Jodie, yeah. You see, and I'm doing the mother hen thing and going, you do know you're not meant to be doing that yet. And she said, yeah, I know that now. And I was doing the mother hen bit beautifully. But tonight I'm going to go and apologize to her. And the reason I'm going to do it is because when I was telling this story to my friends at the back here today, I said, but now that I think about it, the person who was busy mother henning her about that is the same person who had 17 stitches down her stomach and went on a roller coaster. You see, I've got to tell her that that I'm not a perfect person either. But this friend of mine with all the stitches and everything, she didn't stop with telling me the Costco story. She said, oh, by the way, Sal, Reg and I wonder whether you'd like to come for dinner tonight. Dinner, and it's tonight, not yesterday. So I said, you're cooking dinner. She said, it's Thanksgiving. So I said, yeah, but you're not only cooking dinner, you're going to entertain me as well. I mean, first of all, you're cooking dinner. How many people would not be cooking Thanksgiving dinner? And she said, oh, it won't be much. I said, you really? She said, yeah, only turkey and potatoes and a salad. How many of you are going, I don't care whether she bought a pre-cooked turkey. It's just like the fact that she's doing it. Can you see this woman lives her life? She is not her disease. She just lives her life with a disease. Do you understand the different thinking in that? I keep saying to Jody does more than most people I know who are perfectly healthy and don't have the obstacles that Jody does. Erin is another one like that. All right. Imagine you have use of 90% of your body doesn't work. The muscles don't work. You have use of one arm and your face and your mouth and your brain. Thank goodness. And now she's getting excited about it, getting a gurney that should be able to race like a race car. It's just like some people just turn the lemons into lemonade big time. And by the way, Jody didn't finish her story with the Emmett thing. No, she went out to lunch yesterday for a big family reunion. You see, she's living the best life she can. She's not sitting at home feeling sorry for herself. Now, most days she has to. She doesn't have much choice, right, Jody? But, every now and then she just bites the bullet, literally, and, says, okay, this is time for me to do something else. Yeah. Jody's saying, what? You went on a roller coaster? I'm so glad I didn't know you then. I would have had a catnip. A conniption, yes. Here is the thing, though. You know that young people, I took young people to the fair because that's what I would do, right? And then they all said, Sal, you got to come with us on the roller coaster. And I said, guys, I got 17 stitches down my stomach. It's just not a good idea. Oh, come on, Sal. And I did. And by the way, Jody looks healthier and better made up than 90% of the people I know. Do know that the purpose of your life is to be happy, right? You have all those who are going, I'm not sure what my purpose in life is. Well, and let me make it very simple, to be happy. So every day you need to ask yourself, what do I need to do to make myself happy today? That's how you fight stress. What do I need to do? Not what Sal needs me to do, or, my husband or boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, whatever. It's not about that. It's about what do I need to do for myself? The purpose, write that up on your mirror in your bathroom. The purpose of my life is to be happy. How would your life change if you lived by that quote? What would you be doing tomorrow? Actually, it's one question I do ask myself every day. What do you want to do today to make you happy? I know I've got chores to do and that, but what do you want to do today to make you happy? Okay? Now, Jody made herself happy. Jody, I wonder if I can do it. Oh, I'll do it on another broadcast, maybe on Friday. But she spends a lot of time on YouTube learning incredibly interesting things. She learned something, and when I heard about it, I just went, yeah, right. And then she sent me the video, and I went, that's insane. But I want to share it with you guys in case you don't know how to do it. I'll practice it this week so I can do it properly. So can you see that these stories that I'm telling you come straight after the fact that I've just heard that I've got evasive breast cancer, but they don't know if they've got it out or not. How many of you are going, if I just heard that, I wouldn't be laughing as much as Sal is? But my question is, why not? You see, my job is to be happy. My job is to live my life as best I can with what, and right now, I don't feel sick. I get tired. Jody's known that for a year. All right, Jody. And again, I'm going, no coincidences. Maybe all this was adding up. 5 years later, it's going to make sense. And so, I look at it and go, hey, I'm not putting on an act here. I feel great. I'm hoping that you can see that. And I'm not putting on an act. I actually do feel great. I am not as strong as I was, but I feel great. I want to make sure you ask yourself another question. How do I want to be remembered? Do I want to be remembered as somebody that went through this, as a major pity party? Or would I like to say, as I do, what is the lesson here that I can share with others? Will the fact that I talk about it help somebody else? I personally had never heard of DCIS, never heard of it before. And for those of you who are going, I didn't hear that either because you didn't hear me do the broadcast. One of the things I love about DearMamaSal is we learn so much through each other because other people are going through stuff all the time. And I cannot think of a month where we haven't learned something quite significant. And so DCIS, it sounds a bit like a TV program, right? I'm a star of DCIS. DCIS is a duct carcinoma. D is for duct, C is for carcinoma, that's cancer, in situ. All right. And what happened was, let me try and explain this. The cells were all lined up down my boob, inside a duct. All right. Like inside a tube, they were all lining up. And that's what they saw on the mammogram. But they didn't know if they'd already turned or not. Could have been precancerous, but when they tested them, they were cancerous. So to me, it was just like really interesting stuff. And I am certain I'm going to have more than enough time to feel sorry for myself, God willing. And I am pretty certain I'm going to learn a whole lot more and I'm going to share a whole lot more. But I am going to do everything I can to live my life to be happy within whatever it is. Because I don't know. I've said this time and time again, right? I don't know. I'm not going to get hit by a truck tomorrow, right? So I might as well enjoy today. I probably will outlive a whole lot of my viewers. You see, I don't see there's anything to be miserable about right now. I'm hoping it stays that way. So live your life to the fullest every day. Jody, I always remember when Jody got diagnosed recently, with yet another disease, that it took her about a week to she tried really hard to process it first, but, it took her a week before she really started to get there. And then, it comes back in waves every now and then because she's a human being. But, most of you would not know how to live the life that Jody does. And yet she spends all these hours modding with me and modding with another YouTuber. It's just like, why? Because it's her way of living her life. How many of you remember the song, the Sinatra song? It actually was written by Paul Anka, but I believe, I did it my way. And I think how we choose to, we all get given things in our life, our crosses, if you're a religious person, we all get to carry a cross. How we carry it. Do we carry it with dignity? Do we carry it with, bringing pain to everybody around us? It's up to us. Now, the interesting thing to me is the lady that has the cancer and invited me for dinner tonight after the broadcast. I met her quite early on when I first came here a couple of years ago, but we chatted and we were friendly and everything else, but there wasn't a connection. And even though she lives, just half a block away from, not even that, probably 6 houses away from me. So, but it was funny. You remember all the debacle about the community manager and the boundaries and all that sort of stuff that went down? Well, when I got that edict that I had to totally weed my garden and all sorts of terrible things that went down just to punish me, this lady with cancer all throughout her stomach was one of 2 people that came down to help me weed. Now, she could do very little because she has a walker, but she came in support of the person that could do a lot. And she organized it, and and she told us what needed doing next because she could see it. It was just such a kindness. And then only after that did I find out that she suffered from, or around about that time, I found out that she suffered from cancer. And I said to her, you have such an incredible attitude. I cannot believe you're living with, serious cancer. And she said, well, it's my choice, to live it well. And now here I am. By the way, my neighbor across the street that way, he also has cancer. I had it. And he had a cancer that killed my stepbrother. And you can imagine when I heard what he had, I took a very deep breath because I've had experience of people with that. And yet he went to chemo. He drove himself to chemo every time he needed to go. And then he'd come back and I'd talk with him every now and then. He went out walking every day. He just lived the best life he could with what he was going through. Then he and his wife are missing for the next couple of weeks. They've just gone on a cruise. They're cruising from Vancouver, British Columbia, all the way up to Alaska. And then the ship will sail down to Hawaii to reposition for the winter months. Do you think he's living his life to the fullest? So I want you to think about this and say, what is it that you're not doing that you want to do? And what excuses are you giving yourself? And are you asking yourself, or are you reminding yourself that your purpose in life is to be happy? Right? It is to be happy. So I said to my hostess for tonight, I'd love to come, but do you know that I am allergic to garlic? Because that could affect a lot of people's cooking. And that apparently wasn't a problem. So I said, okay, then I would love to come. Why? Because she wouldn't have invited me unless she wanted me there, would she? Do you know what I'm saying? So I know it's going to bring her pleasure because otherwise she wouldn't have invited me. You don't invite people that you don't want to see to your Thanksgiving. So I said, of course, what can I do? Thinking, could I cook the potatoes? Could I cook the turkey? Whatever I could do to help. She said, nothing. Well, what about, what can I bring? No, nothing. Well, I'm going to take some pita bread. Looks so good, though. By the way, I took some pita bread over to my other neighbor as well. It's not a big thing, but it is something. Does that make sense to you? You don't have to do big, expensive things for people. Do small ones. Oh, such joy. You know what I did that gave me joy this week? You know me and Confetti Corner. For those of you who are new to the broadcast, Confetti Corner is my craft room, where I've got what they call a die cutting machine. A lot of you have heard of the Cricut. I have something called a Silhouette. It's sort of like an upgrade on that. And I'm still learning every time. And I have as much fun learning new tricks with it as I do doing the stuff that you can do with it. So I've learned how to make my own envelopes. All right. This is now I keep saying that why go and buy a card for $5 when I can spend a whole afternoon making one, but it's not about that. It's about the fun of doing it. So the fact I can now make a big envelope like this, that gave me great joy. Does that make sense? Right? Actually, to work it out in my head, how do I need to do it? But I also made the card inside. I phoned up Damien's mom. Hope I can get it out now. Oh, it's got stuck inside the card. That's a bit awkward, people. Glad to have found that out today. I can do this without ruining it. Please tell me I can. Wonder if it got in, it must come out, right? Okay. There we go. All right, so I didn't just make one, I made two. All right, Jodi's sharing a Mother Teresa quote. Mother Teresa said, "We can do no great things, but only small things with great love." Yes. So this is now a 9-year-old boy is about to have a birthday. So I phoned Mummy and I said, "Mummy, what's he into this year?" Because children's things change. So she said he's into Pokemon, he's into gym, and his scooter. So I made him a card with, and then here's the happy birthday. But if he's clever, he will work out. He'll go, "Why is this like this?" Well, the reason is that each one of these is a bookmark. Okay? And in case he doesn't work that out, I'll make sure Mummy knows. Trying to get it back in. And would it have been easier if you did that the way you put it in? Okay, and I put it in by going this way, Sal. That's right. And then this way. There we go. But how many of you know how much fun I had working out how to do that? All right? How to do the stencils, how to how to do the stencils, how to do this, and then I had to work out how to design the card itself. And then, of course, I did this little happy birthday here. Now the card will have a little bit more work done on it tonight. But then I also did a bigger version of it on the front. Okay? But that was only one card, because what do I know? It's also Halloween time, his birthday. So I made him a second little thing, but it opens up into a haunted house. You see that? So he can have that for his Halloween decoration. Now, all right, let me just try and count this for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 different bits to it. When I tell you that this card had 30 different components to it that needed to be, stuck together, and you can probably see This wasn't a 3-minute job. In fact, I cut it all out one day, and then I nearly didn't put it together because it was just there were so many little bits. And I got a bit of trembling going on, and I'm going, that's going to be a nightmare for me to put together. But you know what? I did it. The detail was incredible, unfortunately. Am I in a hurry to redo it? Not necessarily, but I know I would do it faster the second time. You see, that's why I love doing these little experiments. The first time I did this sort of stenciled out writing, it was very difficult for me. But now I actually went and hunted for some, because everything you do, it gets, it broadens your mind a bit. And I'm going, no, I need a proper stencil font. And I got that. I bought that yesterday. So exciting. So can you see that it is my choice to either sit here and grieve my health, or I can just do as much as I can and enjoy it? Given the choice between housework and playing on my machine at the moment, playing on my machine is a good idea. Why? It distracts me away from all the other things that are going on, and I get creative. Creative balances me. I get results eventually, which is good. It gives me good adrenaline, good hormones get released, right? And all those sort of things. So it's just like, I look at it and go, if I don't make time to be creative, then I will be miserable. Literally. I need to make that time a more important priority. Live life to the fullest. Tell your family that you love them. Text this person that you miss. Focus your attention on the now. You've got one life to live. Live it without regret. Do not get to the end of your life and say, I wish I had contacted so-and-so and told them I was sorry or whatever. I believe people of the Jewish faith have their Day of Atonement. They do every year. They have that day where they contact people that they need to ask forgiveness from. And I think that's a very good thing to do, regardless of your religion, is, who do you need to apologize to? And do you have the character to be able to do it? I thought, because I was discussing this subject, that I would remind us of a few famous people who lived their life to the fullest, regardless of what was going on. I was thinking about Superman, Christopher Reeve, right, who was a top box office star, got into a horse riding accident, broke his spine, and ended up paraplegic, right, from the neck down. He could move his head, but nothing else. Now, I'm pretty certain that a lot of you would go, I wouldn't want to live that life. But how much good did he do? I mean, he took a while to recover, enough to be able to, when I say recover, but to get his mind balanced out again and to realize that he wasn't totally destroyed, only, he still had a head and he could still think and he could still create and he could, he's an artist, right? He was an actor. That's an artist. So he knew he could create stuff still. He still had his mind. He just couldn't do it the same way. So what he did was he used his mind and his voice, because he still had great following, and did wonderful work for spinal injury people. Can't remember how much he raised. Jody will probably look that up for me. But he literally spent the rest of his life using his spinal tragedy to turn into other people's happier life. I think that's incredible. For those of you who remember Michael J. Fox, he's still alive, as far as I know, but remember him in terms of being a very famous actor as well. Back to the Future a couple of times, 3 times, I think. But, he was a top star. And then during that time, he started to shake and realized something was wrong and did everything he could to hide it. But he was diagnosed in 98, I think, that he had Parkinson's disease. Now, that's the same thing that Muhammad Ali had. So he knows that there isn't a way out of that. He's going to have that for the rest of his life, and it's going to affect him more and more. The incredible thing is, in both cases, both the wives stood by them. All three cases. I've talked about Superman, talked about Michael J. Fox, and also Christopher Reeve. All three wives held their vows to be true. Right? Sickness and in health, they stuck by them, which I love. I love telling the story for that. That some people genuinely meant it when they said that. Not the ones I married. So you understand, they all had to say to themselves, live life to the fullest and focus on the positive. Michael J. Fox also took his illness and used it as a fundraiser. And I think you can appreciate he earned millions of dollars for he created millions of dollars for research into Parkinson's disease. I don't know if any of you know, but I always call her little Selena Gomez. She has lupus. And she's had that since 2015. Now, lupus, in case you don't know, it's an inflammatory disease that causes the immune system to attack its own tissues. Normally, lupus people have very thin skin, literally. And I know that during my time of being a professional speaker, one of the things I did every year was go and talk to the people with lupus. That's why I know a little bit about it. Because I went to see them once, and they apparently had such benefit from my visit and laughing that they, I just sort of kept them on my roster, and every year I would donate time to go talk to all the people with lupus. Jody is telling me that since 1982, the grant-making public charity was awarded $48 million in research grants to neuroscientists. In addition, this is the Christopher Reeve story, right? In addition, it has awarded 670 quality of life grants, totaling $5.6 million to nonprofit. You see, if you ended up in an accident, would you be able to raise $5.6 million? Christopher Reeve knew he could. Michael J. Fox knew he could. He could use what was left of his body and use it for good. Makes sense. Did you know that Nick Jonas suffers from type 1 diabetes? He's quoted as saying, "It's truly incredible." This is while he was doing something for the Disney Music Awards in 2017. He said, "It's truly incredible. These kids who are up here are all type 1 diabetics like myself. This disease I was diagnosed with when I was 13. In other words, he didn't get it after he became famous. He has had it since he was 13. So regardless of having type 1 diabetes, he became a superstar, right? It was a moment in my life when I was just getting ready to start making music with my brothers and touring. And it was something I thought would slow me down before I even got started." No, I didn't know that either, Jody. And that's why I thought I would share it. How about Lady Gaga? Anybody know what she suffers with? I didn't know this either. She suffers from severe fibromyalgia, and some of my viewers do, so that's why I wanted to mention it. She's quoted as saying, in our documentary, the hashtag chronic illness, hashtag chronic pain, I deal with hashtag fibromyalgia. I wish to help raise awareness and connect people who have it. Fibromyalgia causes widespread muscle pain, along with fatigue and issues with sleep and memory. Did it ever stop her wearing meat dresses? Did it ever stop her from starring in a film with Bradley Cooper? Did it ever stop her from becoming a superstar? No. She did it in spite of what was going on in her life, not without it, in spite of it. How many of you know the rapper Lil Wayne or heard of him? Imagine this one. Lil Wayne suffers from epilepsy. You don't want to get too sort of, triggered because it can bring on, or strobe lights and stuff. He's a rapper. Hello. Overstimulated stuff goes on all the time. Strobe lights go on all the time. All things that are bound to set off a seizure. He said, the rapper revealed in March 2013 that he has epilepsy, a neurological disorder characterized by seizures. It wasn't my first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh, he said. I've had a bunch of seizures. You just never hear about them. So I don't know too many epileptics that would choose to become rappers for the reasons that I have said. Right? His limelight is likely to trigger a seizure. How about this one? Life itself is a privilege, but to live life to the fullest, well, that is a choice. How about Kim Kardashian West? Did you know that she lives with psoriasis? Now, I relate to that because I do too. And here's what I found out. Kim has been dealing with psoriasis, an autoimmune skin condition, for years. She said, I've been using this light, and I don't want to speak too soon because the psoriasis is almost gone. But I've been using this light therapy for my psoriasis and it's about 60% gone. I didn't know she had that. I'm certain we all know of, not personally, but we know of Shania Twain. I didn't know she suffers from Lyme disease, did you? That's a nasty little thing. That comes from a tick bite. She said, I was very scared for a little while that I would never sing again. She said this back in 2017. I went through it for a moment, but then I found a way. I found a way to do it. You see, if you want to do something badly enough, you will find a way. There is a plan B. Jody found a way to meet Emmett, even though the path was not open to her. She made the mountain come to Muhammad didn't go to the mountain came to Muhammad, right? And this is like she found a way to make it possible. And she didn't demand it or get nasty about it. And she just said, is there any way you could help me? All right. But, when you think that Shania Twain, suffers from psoriasis, and, that's to do with the skin, and it's ugly, and it's all sorts of stuff. So, pretty good, right? How about Nick Cannon? Now, we know Nick Cannon is so wealthy in his own right, never mind through his marriage. He is so wealthy in his own right that he doesn't obviously have to work another day in his life. He inherited it, and he's obviously made some good choices in his investments. But he also suffers from lupus. And in fact, lupus causes your immune system to attack its own organs and tissues, right? He said, even to this day, I don't subscribe. Like, lupus doesn't have me. Some doctor said this, he said. But I'm going to do everything I can to maintain my physical, mental, and spiritual health. He chooses not to live by the label of, I'm a lupus sufferer. He would rather be known as Nick Cannon, the entertainer. Morgan Freeman chooses to live life to the fullest. And boy, has he done that. Also a fibromyalgia sufferer. He said in 2012, it's the fibromyalgia up and down the arm. That's where it gets so bad. It's excruciating. How come we haven't heard of that before? And then I found out, to my absolute surprise, that George Clooney. You remember George Clooney was in an accident. Jody, I think it was a motorbike accident, but I'm not sure. Yes, Jody's saying these people do not let their diseases become their identity, right? They are celebrities that happen to have an illness. Not an illness doesn't have the celebrity. It's the difference. Is it amazing? The lesson is there. It's like Jody, Jody cannot help that she had to have a wheelchair to get to that concert, but she didn't act like a paralyzed, oh, she's not paralyzed, but an infirmed person. She thought things through with the mind that she has, which is like a steel trap, quite honestly. So I know George Clooney had an accident, and he suffers from chronic pain, has done ever since. I know it was in February of 2012, but he has struggled with chronic pain ever since then. When you see George Clooney, does he strike you as somebody who's suffering from chronic pain? Or does he strike you as somebody who is living his life to the fullest? Thank you very much, Jody. She does a wonderful job with this thing. Speaking with the Sunday Times, the actor, George Clooney, recalled the moment when he went airborne after crashing his motorbike into a car on his way to the set of Hulu, the Hulu series Catch-22 in Sardinia, Italy. Thank you. Right, so that's 2012, 10 years, chronic pain. I don't know about you, but there's part of me that goes, did he also have to struggle with addiction? Because if he's in that level of pain, the chances are they put him on opioids. I got to do some research into that. But he said, I had to accept that I'm going to beat this at a very different level, almost psychologically. I went to a pain management guy whose idea it was, you cannot mourn for how you used to feel because you're never going to feel that way again. Jody, you can relate to this, right? You cannot mourn for what you used to feel because you are never going to feel that way again. Meaning, you woke up with the worst hangover ever, and that's your day, and you have to come to terms with it. And continue to live a good, happy life, regardless of the pain, regardless of the seizures, regardless, all these people are people that live perfectly better than perfect lives, in terms of productive. I didn't know that Melanie Griffith suffers from epilepsy, did you? She said, I had 2 seizures. The first one, they took her off the boat. She was on a boat, and they took her to hospital. I had this major grand mal seizure, and they took me to hospital in Cannes. She was in Cannes for the French Film Festival. And then they took me back to the boat, and I had another seizure and went back again. They did the EEG and started to look at what was seriously wrong. When I came back to the United States, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and nobody had said to me over a period of 20 years, no one paid enough attention to even diagnose me. And some of you relate to that. Oscar Wilde said to live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people just exist. So if you are one of those people who has illness, but you live your life to the fullest, this is my moment to thank you. Thank you for the incredible journey that you chose to take. And thank you for the incredible lessons you must be teaching everybody around you. I know that I have every reason to live my life to the fullest because of the examples I have around me. Did you know that Mariah Carey is bipolar. I didn't know that. And she said, until recently, I lived in denial and isolation and constant fear that somebody would expose me. This is what she said in 2018. It was too heavy a burden to carry, and I simply couldn't do that anymore. I sought and received treatment. I put positive people around me, and I got back to doing what I love, writing songs and making music, and living her life to the fullest. As George Clooney said, it's never going to be the life you had, but you can live it to the fullest within the parameters that you have now. I didn't know that little Ariana Grande suffered from post-traumatic stress. I relate to that. In an emotional speech at the 2018 Billboard Music Awards, she said, I want to say that I find it interesting that this has been one of the best years in my career and like the worst year of my life. By the way, how did she get PTSD? There were attacks in Manchester, England, and she ended up with PTSD after that. So my message to you all is it's not about what you got. It's about what you do with what you got, what you do with the hours in your day. And for some of you, the pain is days in your hours. I know that. I talk to you. But here is the thing. Don't let the disease own you. Own the disease. It's okay to be, somebody with fibromyalgia, even if 99% of the world doesn't really understand what it is. And nor will they ever want to, right? You wouldn't want them to know about it, I'm pretty sure. You certainly wouldn't want them to live your life with it. That excruciating pain. So I just urge you to live your life to the fullest. I do not intend to do anything other than live one step at a time of my diagnosis. One of the things I said to somebody yesterday is, hey, I've got this magical 2 weeks until I have to go to the next appointment, unless they call me in earlier. And I'm hoping that if they think that they've got most of it or have it all, they probably won't hurry up my appointment. But you remember how quick they were to give me. And you remember I said to you, it seems a bit strange to me that I've had 2 specialist appointments booked in the case of weeks, where normally they would take months. Well, there was a reason. They were pretty sure they knew what they were looking at. And that needed to be dealt with sooner rather than later, because, the longer it waited, the more chance there was of it getting outside the duct. So I look at it and go, I'm really, I'm 75 and I don't think I look too bad. I am 75 with, apparently, I have a new label. I may even be, I got to check, do I now have to say I've had cancer? There are all sorts of questions that I've got that I don't know the answers to, that I need to write down. When I fill in a form now, do I need to say I've had cancer or because I don't know. But I do know one thing. I gotta learn a lot more. I do know that life will bring the right people into my life to help me. But that doesn't mean I need to stop helping other people. Does that make sense? I need to just carry on living my life and do what makes me happy. And if you're interested, I will continue to tell you the story. And probably if you're not interested, I'll continue to tell you the story, because I know somebody out there will need to hear what you heard today. Somebody out there will need to know that they're not the only person struggling. But the illness does not have to become you. It's not your identity. You are you, and you travel with an illness. It's a whole different thing. Jody, even when she got the chance of a lifetime to talk to Emmett, she stayed Jody. She went, this is not just for me. I'm doing this for Lauren and Sal. And most people would have said, most people wouldn't have dared ask for more than he already had given her, which was a private meeting. Most people would have just said that, I don't want to push the envelope here. But hang on a second. Who could say no to Jody? All right, so, Jody's saying you'll be helping many people by sharing your journey. I'm amazed, actually, how many people I have yet to meet one person other than medical people that knew what DCIS was, and that included the local phone-in nurse, when I had problems with the bandages. All right. The nurse on the end of the line didn't know what DCIS was, so I educated her. It was so interesting. I had reason to speak to my pharmacist yesterday, and they were the ones that helped me when my bandages started to come adrift. And the first thing she said, how are you feeling? And you could hear the love. And I said, with my hands? And I said, no, really, I'm fine. I said, I'll pop in and show you. But I'm fine, really. And I'll be back to make you laugh pretty soon. Now, she said an interesting thing. Again, you remember that 5 years later, it'll make sense? Can any of you remember? I can't remember when it happened, but I had a real problem once with the inhaler that I was using, and that I was allergic to it. And I was coughing up stuff, a lot of stuff. One of the things when I was talking to my doctor, and he presumed I was phoning for the results, which I wasn't. He just got them come in and that right there. And I didn't know that. I phoned up to get my script refilled. But anyway, one of the things I did is I said, can you do me a favor and let the pharmacist have a script that I don't want to fill now, but I want it on hand so when I do want to fill it, that I won't have to get hold of you. And that was for a new puffer. Now, the interesting thing is I've got a really great pharmacist, and the pharmacist phoned me up and said, Sal, I noticed that your doctor has ordered this puffer for you, but it's one you're allergic to. And I said, that's strange because I'm actually been using it and I don't feel allergic to it. And she said, then something else must have been going on at the time that you used the puffer. Maybe you had pleurisy or pneumonia and didn't know it. And that's what was causing it. But you know what I realized while I was sitting on the throne yesterday? Yeah, in my washroom. When I was sitting there, Jones, my librarian, went into the filing cabinet because he didn't like the fact that I didn't know what I was allergic to. And then I remembered. Remember, I found out I was allergic to that blood pressure medication. Those are the symptoms that I had way back when, and I thought what was causing it was the puffer. It wasn't the puffer. I bet you if I get her to check back, I was taking that blood pressure medication at the time, and that's what was causing, the thing that I had. I said that I thought I was allergic to the puffer. I didn't realize it was to the medication. 5 years later, it makes a lot of sense. So whatever's happening to you right now, by the way, because of all the trouble I had with the management here, a piece of paper has come out of the woodwork that shows that the boundary between our units is 3 feet. And the person, in other words, I am responsible for that 3 feet, but I have to keep it clear. And that document came to light. How long have I been fighting this? A long time. I knew it was fundamentally incorrect, and I just couldn't prove it, so I just waited. And now people are saying, why don't you put everything back where it's meant to be? I said, no, I'm going to wait until that's been cemented by a number of people. And then I will, go and say, I need written permission to put everything back. I won't put it back until I get written permission to do it. But I have the piece of paper signed by the owner. I lie. Written on the owner's letterhead back 20 years ago. So it's just like the owner's daddy, actually. Daddy wrote it with pictures showing exactly how much space there needed to be. You see, breathe, smile, and go slowly. Don't change who you are because of illness. Don't change who you are because of people attacking you. Don't change who you are. Our job is to be happy and to do whatever we can to protect that. And there'll be some days when it's more difficult than others. How many times did you hear me say, I haven't quite worked out why I was meant to come here? Well, guess what? I've already made quite a difference to quite a few people, and quite a few rules are changing because of it. A lot of people are not getting victimized anymore. Why? I got the association involved. I wasn't the only one. I knew I wouldn't be. They found others. And so I go, I'm a happier person. It's beginning. It only took 2 years to make sense, but it did take 2 years. Jody, thank you for the wonderful examples you give, and thank you for your generosity of spirit. And thank you for the fact that helping us at Dear Mama Sal brings you pleasure is perhaps the greatest compliment that I can think of. That doing the job that you do here helps make your life happier. That to me is very, very special. And I'm looking forward to the two of us being a team for many more years to come. So I'm certain you are as well. This is Dear Mama Sal, off to go and have Thanksgiving dinner, giving thanks for everything in my life. Oh, it's not, I'm not size 10 anymore. I'm not able to do as much as I used to do anymore. All sorts of things have changed. But remember what George Clooney said. Make the most of what you got, right? Don't grieve, right? Remember what the doctor told him? Don't grieve what you haven't got anymore. Live what you have still got. Live what you've got. And it is your job to be happy. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you all for being here. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you have, give it a thumbs up so other people know it's worth listening to. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, let's live life to the fullest. Bye-bye for now.